Hello. I
Uh,
just realized I moved my mic away and now I have to move
oh,
it back.
yeah. Here
Um,
we go.
Here we go. Hi everyone. I'm Olivia.
Why did it freeze just
Oh
now?
no.
Are you still there?
Yeah.
God
Can you hear me?
dang it. Okay. Yep, now I can.
Okay,
Can you
here we
hear me?
go. I'm Olivia. Yes.
Oh my god. Okay. I'm
Um,
Amy. And this
and this is
is Girls
Girls Gone
Gone
Spooky.
Spooky. And this is kind of
Oh,
appropriate
this
for
is
the theme
painful. This is going to
of
be really
today.
painful.
Yeah.
Honestly though. Oh my god. This is
Um,
really painful so
yeah.
far. We're going to
You're
get there.
Yeah, you're just like a bunch of pixels right now. I don't know what I look like to you, but
Oh, great. Also
Mhm.
pixelated. But
Okay.
your video and your audio match, so well, they did. We'll
Okay.
see
It's a
if that
good
remains the case.
sign.
All right, guys, we're
Hopefully.
obviously having major tech issues today.
Mhm.
No idea why, because
Yes.
everything's been going smoothly until last week, and now it's super
Yep.
duper annoying.
Yeah.
So bear with us. Um, but it is, as Amy said, kind of appropriate for this week's topic because we're talking about haunted electronics and other weird
Ooh.
phenomena involving electricity and electronics. So, should I just like jump right in?
Yeah, let's do it cuz I think we have a
Okay, beautiful.
chaotic episode today.
We do a very chaotic episode. So, mine are like mainly like really short little quick hit stories. So, I'm just going to like keep on yapping.
Okay.
But
Let's
yeah,
do it.
so I wanted to talk first about I know we've talked in the past about streetlight interference. So just like as a
Yes.
reminder, these are people who can basically like turn streetlights on and off like with their mind, which sounds insane,
Oh
but
yeah.
like a lot of
Mhm.
people experience this. Um and essentially like some and people do it in different ways. So like some people will like point at a street lamp and can turn it out, or as they're driving
Mhm.
past it they can turn it on or off. Some people can even do it with like not street lamps but street lights, like the red, yellow, green, and can like
Mhm.
make them change, which is like
That's
seems like
dangerous.
a safety hazard. Yeah.
Yeah.
um but
Mhm.
there's another kind of connected phenomena that I'd never heard of until I started doing research for today's episode, which is called the Pauli effect. Pauli.
Hmm.
Have you heard of this before?
Hmm. I don't think so. No.
Oh my god, our our audio is so delayed. My god.
God.
Crazy. Okay, it's fine.
Um,
Everything's fine, guys.
okay. Did you hear my answer
So
or no?
I'm just gonna keep talking. Yes, you said no. You're not gonna hear me say
Okay.
that for a minute, but I'm just gonna keep talking. So the
Okay.
Pauli effect is like quoted as the supposed tendency of technical equipment to mysteriously break in the presence of certain people. And the effect is named after an Austrian theoretical physicist named Wolfgang Pauli, whose presence was associated with spontaneous mechanical failure throughout his career. And like it sounds really goofy, but people report this happening like at an insane rate. Like Reddit is riddled with people who can either break machines or make them behave when they're not behaving properly. Like it is the
Hmm.
weirdest thing I have ever come across. So I'm
Wow.
just going to like read a few of these. Um so let me see. So someone started by asking like something that I thought was going to be more ghosty in nature. So they asked, this is Button Mate. They said, have you ever noticed things like appliances, devices, electricity, or plumbing break down when a particular person or even you are there? So they go on to say, hello, I'm asking because I've noticed that whenever my mother visits, my car breaks down. I have electricity problems, plumbing, etc., all of them with days difference. I'm aware things break down, but definitely not as normal as this is, and so close together with the pattern of right after my mother leaves. I've read somewhere about our energy fields affecting devices, so I was curious. Has anybody noticed anything of the sort? So people go on to tell all of these crazy freaking stories. So the idea is that, just like to talk really quickly about like the theory, is that some people, like we have electricity that is like running through our bodies all the time. That's how our hearts are beating, essentially. So there's like a light electrical pulse that triggers your heart to beat and blood to pump through your body. So like you need that. Um, some people, the theory goes, have much stronger electrical fields in their body or around their body. And apparently, like if you think about like someone being like high strung or high frequency, like it's that literally. So if your emotions are high, you're already one of these people and your emotions are high or you're really stressed, you literally put out like an electromagnetic field that can then interact with or break things around you. And in some cases, it seems like fix things as well. So I'm going to read a couple of these because they're just like, what? So someone on Reddit whose username is IDFKIF. Okay, they say, oh boy, do I have these experiences. Growing up, my dad and I would often cause streetlights to turn off driving down the street. We got a few of the actual stoplights to turn off as well, but that was definitely a more rare occurrence. It still happens to me all the time, especially right now because my emotions are high due to the fact that I'm currently pregnant. On a related note, if and when my emotions are more heightened, I straight up break electronics. Light bulbs pop when I turn on lights. I've even gotten a few of the LED ones to break, but it doesn't happen as much. I've straight up fried at least 2 brand new laptops. I can't wear watches because the batteries die within a week. My dad's record for this was an hour once on a high-end watch we got him for Christmas one year. We ended up getting him one of those watches that was completely made out of wood afterwards, and it lasted a little longer. I literally have to replace my phone battery all the time because the batteries drain really fast. And same with other appliances that use batteries, things like remotes, handheld games, pianos, etc. I'm guessing they mean keyboards. I remember one time at a previous workplace, the computer that I would use would get affected intensely over monthly periods of time. One went up in smoke once. The monitors would stop working after a month, etc. Yeah. In a weird twist, I got struck by lightning a few years back, and it made the whole thing even worse. I don't keep electronics on me very often anymore because they just stop working. Give me a phone with a full charge and a full battery pack, dies within 5 hours. I call it my superpower. I can also magnetize certain metals if I keep them around me for long periods of time. It's quite fun, but very bizarre. Like, what? It's so weird.
But it seems like it would be uncomfortable somehow. Like they would be having a sensation of some sort.
Yeah. No, that's so true. I agree.
Such a strong effect.
Yeah, I know. It's so weird. Or like, yeah, or that you'd like feel it somehow. I don't know. So a lot of people say similar things like me with computers and phones, doesn't matter where I go. If I walk up to a cash register, it suddenly isn't working. If I hold a cell phone in my hand, I can see the battery drain. Like you can see the number go down while it's in my hand. If I look something up and then hit the back button, it'll shut down. Like it doesn't matter if it's an iPhone, an Android, doesn't matter. My husband and 2 of my best friends are in IT. They've walked me through processes in person and had to stop many times to say, why is it doing that? It should not be doing that. I worked in an office that had a computerized permanent coffee machine, meaning it was attached to the plumbing. And of the 6 people in the office, it was used many, many, many times a day. But if I used it, it would short circuit, blow the plumbing, and we'd have to shut down the office to stop it from flooding. Like,
oh my God.
so
intense.
intense. Yes. And
Bizarre.
some people are like, I can't drive because if I drive, the car breaks down. Like, how do you live like that? Like, it's just bonkers. Yeah. So then weirdly enough, you get all of these people who are on the opposite side of that. So like someone was like, Alien Eater 289 was like, I feel like I have the opposite problem as everyone in this thread. I regularly have coworkers ask me for help with their computer, and as soon as I'm standing next to it or looking at the screen, the issue immediately stops. Like, what?
Wow,
it's so
that's
weird.
handy.
So handy. And then someone else had written, I'm like struggling to find the comment now, but someone else was saying that they worked in like a just like a corporate office like back in the 80s, and in there it was like some sort of like research institute, I think. And so what they were saying is like they had to print these like 100-page dissertations sometimes, and they were the person who literally like everyone in the office knew, like, oh, call so and so over to sit beside the printer while it's printing so that it all prints properly and you don't have to redo the job, which is like so funny. Wow.
Yeah, you'd be everyone's favorite person in that.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. Favorite person. And I wanted to do like a quick little, I have a couple like books I'm going to reference in this. I'm not like referencing the content necessarily, but just like for further reading, if you're interested in this. I came across a book today that is called, hold on, let me make sure I have the author's name properly. It's called Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza. And the like subtitle is How Common People Are Doing the Uncommon. And like the whole book essentially talks about stuff like this, but also like tapping into like intuition and like psychic ability. It's fascinating. We like popped into a bookstore today and I was like reading the back and it was like $40 or something. Otherwise I would have bought it. So I'm now on the wait list for it at the library. But like it seemed fascinating. And it was sort of talking about some of these weird phenomena that are like, if you're just like, why does that happen? Like clearly these people are, I don't know if we can really call it paranormal, but like it's not normal. So it's like,
that's for sure.
Some like, like different wavelength people are on. Like, I don't know. It's so weird. It's just so weird.
Yeah, truly. Wow.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit. Yes, very interesting. So my next story is a little bit more on the like cut and dry, spooky, haunted electronics side. So this was posted by someone named Miku Posting on the Ghosts subreddit. And they asked, can ghosts control or reside in electronics? So they go on to say, before I get into this, I want to say I'm not a very superstitious person and I have to see something to believe it. I have seen multiple things in my house that are unexplainable and they all are regarding electronics. Some of these are very recent and some of these have been happening for as long as I can remember having lived here, but the only explanations I can think of for them are reaching. The first occurrence I remember is the microwave. Every so often, it will beep and a number pops up, most times 3 or 7. Sometimes it will turn the oven fan on by itself. Other times it will press the timer button so the screen says, press start. But about 80% of the time, and about once daily, it does this pressing a number thing, and the number will stay there until someone goes over and clicks the cancel button. So it's just like a number popping up on the screen of the microwave, which is just so weird. Yeah. The TV in my room turns on and off, and they say this has only happened about 3 times, but always at night. My mom has a wax warmer in the kitchen that turns on by itself. She stopped using it because she plugged it in and then changed her mind and went to use a candle instead. And when she sat down, she looked in the direction of the wax warmer because my sister was sitting near it, and it turned on the second she looked at it. So another one of those weird things where it's like, is this a ghost, or is she one of those like weird people who can influence electronics?
Right. Fair question.
The other thing turning on and off just now was the light on my MacBook, and it was the final straw for me because that had never happened before. Again, I'd think it was just updates at nighttime or something the laptop has to reboot itself for, but then I remember that I have automatic updates off because I use my laptop to draw, and I'm scared of it updating in the middle of a drawing and me losing my progress. Mm-hmm. So I don't know at this point if I should give everything the benefit of the doubt. I don't know which is more plausible, ghosts or spirits of some type, or multiple new electronic things malfunctioning in the exact same way. I think it'd be cool if there were ghosts as long as they're friendly, but I also don't want to blow it out of proportion and pretend like something's there that isn't. I've also noticed that when I play a rhythm game on my phone, it will happen while I'm in the middle of a song. And when I finish the song, I'll think, what was that? I'll look up and it'll happen again. That's what happened with the TV and the laptop turning on and off. So I sort of like to think it's the ghost cheering me on while I'm playing my game. Other than that, I live in a fairly new house, about 20 years old. I haven't had many deaths in the family, not people I was very close to. And I don't know if anyone thinks I'm overreacting or if we just need a new wax warmer. So it's like just weird, like harmless things. And then of course there are like a ton of people in the comments who are like saying their things. So DTH213 says, I had a TV that used to turn to channel 6 every time I walked in front of it. Kind of creepy, but generally harmless. And they were like, definitely keep the stuff that's like hot unplugged, like the wax warmer, because like that could be dangerous. But then the original poster was like, channel 6? That would scare me. And I was like, that would scare me too, actually, thinking about it, like thinking it's like something demonic. I don't know. That freaks me out. And then there were a couple other things. Some people like were saying, oh, well, maybe like where the house is like in a really active like electromagnetic field, like on the planet, not from a person, but just on the planet. Which is like possible, but the original poster's response to that was like, yeah, but like some of these things have happened the whole time I've lived here, and some of them are new. Like it's like ramping up kind of. So I don't know. There's like some interesting theories, but also just like so bizarre.
Yeah.
And then there was one other one I was going to share, which creeped me out. Beat 106 said, in an old place I used to live, I had a stereo system turn on and a CD play by itself in the middle of the night. It wasn't an autoplay system, so someone or something had to press a button to turn it on, select a CD mode, and press play to get it going. I woke up, and in the tired haze I was in, I just pulled the plug out and went back to bed. I only remembered about it the next day when I saw the plug lying on the floor. It was definitely haunted though, because a bunch of other stuff happened there. So then Miku is like, yeah, this is like kind of what I'm thinking. Like I've started pulling the plug on certain electronics before I go to bed because it's like, eek. Like I don't want this. So very creepy and bizarre. I think there was, I just want to see. Okay, so I have some other like little quick hit stories, but a lot of them are like things turning on in the middle of the night and things like that. But I wanted to pull up. Oh, this one was really creepy. So someone posted General G3 number 1 said electronics turning on by themselves. So they say, hello, tonight the strangest thing ever just happened to me. At 5 a.m., I was woken up by a sound in the living room. I went to check what it was, and turns out that my TV and my Nintendo Switch had turned on. So the noise I was hearing was the main menu music for Mario Kart 8, which I loved that was the game.
Yeah.
If this was the only thing, I would have been all right. But not only did my TV and my Switch turn on, my kitchen counter lights, which I haven't used for a long time because they're remote controlled and I don't have batteries to rejuice the remote. But still, it somehow turned on, and now I have no way of turning it off because the remote literally doesn't work. Along with all of this, the lights in my hallway were also on, but they're motion sensor controlled. So someone, which this was a good idea. Someone was like, if there was a power outage and then it got turned back on, I thought that was actually a really very possible logical solution. Cause when your oven or whatever, it goes out and then it comes back on and then it's beeping and the lights are on and whatever. So I was like, okay, that actually would explain it. And then someone, creepy electronic toys, which I feel like you have a personal story about this one because creepy.
Yes.
So Sarah Boo 2324 said in response to that story, I understand the skepticism. Personally, I've always believed in the paranormal and I've had so many experiences to back it up that I really can't doubt it at this point. I've had the same things happen that you were describing, electronics turning on by themselves. I've had the TV turn on twice in a row right in front of me when it had been silent and I was relaxing with the remote nowhere near to me. When I lived at my sister's, I had my niece and nephew's toys turn on by themselves in the dark playroom while everyone was asleep upstairs, as it was 2 a.m. and I was just watching TV in the room, one room over. Same thing happened with their toys at my house. They went off, ones that have to be actually played in order for the sound to go off, moved. A toy phone went off, and every time I got closer to see where it was, it stopped and wouldn't start again until I went back to my room. Hate that.
Wow.
After a few times, I finally caught the phone, and it was in a bin, not touching anything else. So I have no idea how it would have been triggered. For me, being someone who's experienced things all my life, I assume the toy ones are some kid that followed me from my sister's all the way back to my home state. The TV one, I think there's a spirit who plays tricks sometimes in my house, has actually moved things before, and we couldn't find the stuff for days. As a skeptic, you can chalk it up to electrical issues, but I really don't think that's it, in my opinion. So I just thought that was kind of interesting, but very weird vibes.
Yeah, very.
So I wanted to talk a little too about okay, so if it's a ghost in the machine kind of thing, which we did an episode on that as well. So it's kind of, this is sort of round 2 of this topic, but I thought this was a good one to kind of segue into that for a moment. This is from Important Gear 1265. So they said, a couple things happened right after my sister died, and I'm not sure what to make of it. One night, I was trying to fall asleep, feeling deep in grief, and my neighbor's car outside was playing a song on a loop. He had run in his house, so I don't think he noticed, but it was weird. The song Take Me Out from Franz Ferdinand. If you're lonely, you know I'm here waiting for you. It was just that one part playing in a loop, and both my sister and I were obsessed with that song back in the day. Weird. And then today, I'm looking up stuff about people who have cancer because I'm anxious and my sister just died from cancer. And then the internet just closes suddenly. The browser and my Wi-Fi go out completely at the same time. And I sort of wondered if it was my sister saying, stop reading that. You're just going to freak yourself out. But I've never had an issue since then. I've never had Wi-Fi issues since then. So I'm trying to understand, if it is my sister, if it's a spirit, how is it that they could possibly interfere with electronics? Obviously, the message seems clear, trying to get your attention. But so I was kind of digging into this a little more. And I thought that this was really interesting. So electronics and like the internet in general are sort of like a tool, thought to be a tool that people who have passed can use to connect with us. But then when you think about like the logistics of it, like it's not uncomplicated. Like the physics of like plugging something in and having the electricity work, it's not like so straightforward. So it's like, okay, if you have something unplugged that's turning on somehow, okay, like you essentially have like, yeah, you just have this kind of like complex setup. So um I had a couple of people. Okay, so this one's from a deleted user. And this was on specifically someone asking like how could a ghost turn on an unplugged appliance? So it happens obviously to people.
Good question.
And a lot of people in the comments were like, I would love for this to be debunked because this has absolutely happened to me. It's so freaky. I hate it. So there were a couple of people who came in with like some theories that I thought were interesting because they add the like logistical, like scientific side to it. So someone, a deleted user, this was a couple of years ago, said the thing I'm hung up on with other hypotheses beyond like a spirit, I guess, is that to power electronics with voltage sources, like we do using batteries and electrical outlets, there's never only one pin on the connector. It's always two or more pins. So voltage powered electronics need not only a source, which is like the positive side of a battery, and also a sink, but also a sink or a return path, which is negative, and then like ground or neutral, that flow through wires or circuit board traces between the two. The distance from positive to negative on a typical battery is a few millimeters. So an energetic volume around the size of an orb, a human or ghost, or a tree-sized yeti is usually more like meters range than millimeters. So if the voltage gradient is really high within this orb or a ghost or whatever, aligned properly with the way the device is powered, it could work. But it's like all just sort of exacting. So they're saying like there's an uncanny precision when it comes to physics with these kinds of events. So whatever's making it happen is probably intelligent or aware of how something works in a way that could be, you know, like they would have to understand roughly how on like a particle level this works. So something like instead of it being like, oh, it's just, you know, you live on like a high electromagnetic line or whatever. It's like, well, that's kind of not a reasonable explanation because you have to have some understanding of like how it actually works, and it would be more of like a direct manipulation, which I thought was like very interesting.
Very.
So yeah, I thought that was like very interesting. And what someone else said, which like sounds really like maybe like quaint, I guess I can't like think of the right word, but the idea that like energy like can't just be destroyed, like so the whole concept of like our human consciousness, like the fact that we still don't fully understand where in our brain like we're able to be conscious as human beings, and like self-aware, like beyond what like my cat is. Because he's not self-aware as far as we know. I mean, maybe we don't know. He's very clever. But I don't think he's self-aware. So the idea is like, of course a ghost could do this because they're just energy. That's all they are. Like they have no bodily corporeal form. So it's just energy. So of course they'd be able to manipulate another energy source, which like I thought was interesting because there's kind of like some of the other theories. So there's like the electromagnetic field one. There's the like vampire energy or residual energy, which is like if you leave something plugged in but it's off, there's still some amount of electrical current that's coming into the appliance. So if you've left something plugged in for a really long time, you unplug it. The idea is like there's probably enough residual energy to like power a light on or something like that. But again, like that would make sense for like one instance and for a really short period of time versus like turning a toy on and off, and like things can glitch for sure. But when it becomes this like repetitive, freaky thing, I don't know. I just think there's like too much coincidence. And it's not to say I can like fully understand or explain how or why this stuff happens, because like of course I can't. I'm not a scientist or like an electrical engineer or any kind of engineer.
Right.
Let's be clear, not an engineer. But I don't know, it just seems like it's too, the other explanations to me just don't make sense. So it's like kind of one of those weird like question mark things to me. So
very.
Yeah. So with that, I'm transitioning into one final topic, which are phone calls, haunted phone calls. So
spooky.
I found a couple threads that very spooky. I found a couple threads that like talk through a few like just quick little stories. But like they're very weird and I don't know what to think about them. So this one, sorry, I have like all these pop-ups on Reddit right now. Okay. This one is from Sebasvisu. Sebasvisu. Yeah. Sebasvisu. So they say this happened about 6 years ago, and I still get goosebumps when going back to that night. Myself and 3 other friends went to a concert at the biggest venue in Mexico City. One of my friends is a woman, and this is important for the story, so just remember that. The concert ended, and we agreed on a meetup point outside the venue so we could pick up a cab and leave together. There are about 100,000 people at the concert, so we inevitably got separated, and we went to the meetup point. We waited for my friend for about 15 minutes there when we started to get worried, so we started calling her phone. However, due to the sheer amount of people present at the venue, trying to make phone calls obviously was not super effective. So the phones weren't going out or they weren't getting received. So we started to get really worried. After another 10 minutes trying to call her, I get a phone call from her. She sounded really gloomy and sad on the phone, but she said, "Hey, Seba, I'm all right. I'm already at my place. Everything is okay." I got immediately freaked out as this was impossible. She lived 2 hours away and not even an hour had passed. We get really freaked out and try to call her back and start flagging cops down because being in Mexico City, we're starting to be concerned that maybe she'd been like kidnapped or something bad had happened. Then 30 seconds after this call, she comes out of the crowd looking chill and happy and normal. I yell at her saying, "What the hell is wrong with you? That's not a funny joke. We were really worried about you." And she looked like completely stunned. She denied ever having made the phone call. She tried calling us, but couldn't get a signal, same as us. We didn't believe her. We were like, "This is a prank. This wasn't funny. Like, show us your phone." So she's like, okay, like gives them her phone. There's no record of the call having been made. And after this, they look at their phone again to show her, like, "Look, you called me." There's no record of the call. But the other friend also heard it. So, like, there was a witness to their side of the story. So, to this day, I have no idea what happened or how this could have happened because the voice on the other end of the phone was hers for sure. And she knew details about me and where I was and knew my name. I just wanted to share this, like, creepy story. And then in the edit, they say the other people in the group saw me receive this phone call and heard me talking, going green from fear. So I didn't just imagine this happening. So it's like so weird. Right. And then a lot of people were like, "Any chance you had like done some party drugs this night?" And he was like, "No, I had 2 beers and that was it." So like not drunk. So weird. And people are like, "You should also put this in the Glitch in the Matrix subreddit," which is like so accurate. But it's like, this is some weird convergence of like so many different things. It's like Glitch in the Matrix. It's like mimic or doppelgangery for sure. Or I don't know, like alternate reality version of her. Like, or the thing that creeped me out the most is like, we don't know the background of this woman. Like, what if it was like something demonic trying to get them to leave so that she would be stuck there alone? You know what I mean? Like some weird malicious influence kind of entity. I don't know. I really did not like that one though.
No.
Did not like that.
Yeah, I don't like that at all. And I really want to react, but I know that you're not going to hear my reaction until you've already stopped talking. So I'm just like,
you can react now.
Nodding.
You can react now. Okay. I'm sorry. This connection is so brutal.
Yeah, it's like a good 5 seconds probably delayed. So
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It's
great
so
story
bad.
though. I'll just nod along.
Thank you. Thank you.
now.
I tried. Okay. I'm almost to the end, and then we will pass it to you, and then I will sit quietly.
Perfect. Yeah.
It's
show and tell today.
Exactly, show and tell. So this one is like quick, but it's mainly I want to reference another book because I know I said I was going to do that. So this is in a subreddit called High Strangeness, which I think it's Payne Lindsay has a new podcast, a new-ish called High Strange, which is also very good. And it like, I think the first season or at least some episodes talk like almost exclusively about aliens, but it's like a bunch of freaky, weird stuff. So highly recommend that. But this is from Cole Street Fly. And they say, my dad got a call on his landline this week from my grandparents' landline that was disconnected in 2009. And this is from 2022. So like very recent. The caller ID showed my grandpa's name and number. My dad answered, heard some kind of whispering voice, and then fumbled and hung up the phone because he got so flustered. When he called the number back, it was an automated message from the phone company saying the number is no longer in service. What the hell?
Whoa.
And yeah, very weird. So, of course, then, like, a ton of other people are in the comments, like, when my uncle died, my mom got, like, 4 or 5 phone calls from his number, even after it was disconnected, or we had the phone in our possession, and it was, like, right there. There's no log of those calls coming through, and my uncle's phone was calling her. Like, really weird stuff. And this phenomenon is, like, insanely common. Phone calls from a very recently deceased loved one. And there was a book written about it called Phone Calls from the Dead, the results of a 2-year investigation into an incredible phenomenon by D. Scott Rogo. So it's like literally a collection and investigation of these kinds of things happening, which are just like so freaking weird. So my last little story here, which I had to land on like a truly spooky one because this is my way. Mm-hmm. So this is from Illithid Shadows. So they say, this is not my story, but my dad's, but they tell it really well. Back in the 80s, he was a skater kid in his 20s. He and a buddy, he was our quote unquote uncle growing up, despite the fact that he wasn't related, were hanging out in the house that my dad was renting at the time with my mother, his brother, his sister, and his sister's boyfriend. So like whole family is like vibing in this house. It was 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and the two of them were just relaxing when the old rotary phone in the house suddenly starts ringing. Now, my dad's buddy was a jumpy guy. He'd accompanied my dad to some sort of weird fair once where they had a bunch of psychics and palm readers and stuff like that. And when he went in for a reading, big mistake, he got so freaked out that my dad had to take him home because he was about to have a panic attack. He was always just a nervous kind of guy, and he answered the phone that night. This like poor guy. According to my dad, the conversation went something like this. Friend says, hello. And in parentheses, it says, his face looks normal. And then there's a pause. Yeah, this is he. Suddenly looking visibly confused and a little startled. No. Silent for a moment, looks freaked out. What the fuck? Yelps, startled, and slams the phone down on the receiver. My dad finally coaxed the details out of him and figured out that he heard what sounded like an old lady's voice, as the friend described it, on the other end. The conversation went something like this. Friend, hello? Then someone says, enter their dad's name. So is Paul there? The friend, yeah. Are you, enter that person's name, Steve? Yeah, this is he. Suddenly looks visibly confused and a little startled. Do you know where I am? Friend, no. Silent for a moment, looking a little freaked out. I'm in the basement. What the fuck? Yelps and slams phone down. Oh my god, I hate it.
That's so scary.
Yeah, it's so scary. And an old woman's voice. Like, that's a hard pass.
Ew. Mm-hmm.
Hate it. So they go on to say the two of them were holed up in the living room all night, totally freaked out. Now, my dad had considered it might have been a friend of theirs just screwing with them, but a lot of really weird things happened in that house, and some of it had been connected already to a quote unquote old lady before. When it came to ghosts and the paranormal, my dad has always been a skeptic. Living in that house changed his mind. He told me a few stories about that place, but this one was perhaps my favorite. Hate it.
Wow.
Hate it.
That's a good one, though.
Yeah, that scared the crap out of me. Again, similar to the one where the girlfriend is found in the mattress with the now that you found her, where am I? I'm in the house one. Scary story. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. It's very no. It's a hard no.
Yeah.
Oh, God. So, those are mine. Wow. And now it's your turn.
I know. I wish that I could have given more energy to you through this whole thing.
But you were. I could hear you responding. It was just a little delayed.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's definitely my fault because I keep getting a notification of an unstable connection. So
dang it.
That's my
bad. That's so weird.
Yeah.
Like, why did this just start suddenly?
I know. But the Wi-Fi signal keeps going like up and down. So I think it's just the Wi-Fi.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully it's not haunted. But
I hate that you said that.
Haunted Wi-Fi.
Haunted Wi-Fi. Yeah, literally. Trying to it's like moving up and down in Morse code.
Right. Oh God. No. And I just don't know how to interpret what it's saying.
I hope that's not it. I hate that.
Yeah. I've been looking up some cursed weird things on the Wi-Fi today, so
yeah. I mean, yeah, that's actually such a good point. All the stuff we look up that's like, you're not supposed to say the name of this demon. We do a full episode on it.
Yeah, exactly. That's
oh God.
Like me with Peggy the doll, like holding my hand up on her picture.
Not looking at her.
You're not supposed to look at her. Yeah.
And the CRONE of the Catskills, the one that terrified my poor father. Who, by the way,
who shall not be named.
Exactly. He called me last week and was like, you make me sound like such a curmudgeon on the podcast. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, but I'm roasting you all the time. I was like, you're roasting me because I sound like an idiot. It's valid.
Yeah.
It's like,
fair.
I'm not a curmudgeon. I was like, I don't think anyone is interpreting it that way but you. So now, Dad, we've cleared the air. You're not a curmudgeon. I just don't know what the internet is. It's a big difference.
Right. Yeah. I think we love his cameos. Not a curmudgeon.
The best. He adds some spice. I love it.
Exactly.
I love it.
Me too. Okay, so let's get going.
Yes.
And I'll just answer you whenever your audio comes around to me.
Perfect.
Okay, so I have, like I said, chaotic a little bit, because I have some like urban legendy type things some conspiracy, and then some potential ghost. So, the first thing is I came across an article called Creepy Phone Numbers.
Oh.
And there were, a lot on there where you can like call this number and get connected with Wrinkles the Clown or something.
Nope.
um,
Hard no.
yeah, like things I don't know why you would call them ever. But one that sounded vaguely familiar but really interesting, so stop me if we have talked about this, is the number 0888
Oh.
And this number, it's a Bulgarian phone number. It has been suspended, so put out of service, because all of its owners in the last 10 years have died under mysterious circumstances.
What?
And yeah, so based on what I read about the people who owned these numbers, I feel like their lifestyle definitely plays into this.
Okay. Yeah, fair.
I get why. I do get why this would become like a cursed number. But yeah, let me give some details. So the first owner, he was the former CEO of a Bulgarian mobile phone company. He died of cancer, unfortunately, aged just 48. And they think, potentially, that his cancer had been caused by a business rival using radioactive poisoning against him. I don't know why they were led to think that, but that's definitely mysterious circumstances,
like,
if you ask me.
If you're gonna poison someone, why? Like, why would that be the way you do it? That
Right.
seems so difficult compared to other poisoning options.
Yeah, but maybe like cancer is, I mean, a natural, I guess, cause of death.
Yeah.
So it would be very
that's true.
not suspicious. But you're really
that's true.
playing the long game to
Yeah.
get rid of your rival.
You're like, we need this guy dead, but like whenever works.
Give it, yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, like 10 years, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. But then it went to a Bulgarian mafia boss. So he was assassinated during a trip to the Netherlands. Apparently, he had a 500 million euro drug smuggling empire. So,
oh my God, that's so much money.
It's so much money. And it kind of like makes sense. He's a mafia boss, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, some bad dealings.
Yeah. These seem, like you said, like kind of fitting so far.
Yes. Yep. But the third person it went to, it's also, he was a massive cocaine trafficker, but he was also assassinated in 2005. He was trying to get into Colombia, and they, what's the word that I'm thinking of? Intercepted him, and he died.
I was gonna say extradited. Okay, intercepted.
Yeah. So that is that number. Now they say it's cursed if you call it, but I think what really happens is it's just disconnected, so you wouldn't actually get through to anything. But still,
and then the like mind power thing kicks in, and you're like, well, now I'm cursed, and then you start to notice bad things happening.
Exactly. Yeah, because there's another one that's like that. If you dial 10 million, however many zeros that is, 7, to make 10 million, you are supposed to then have to convince 15 other people to call 10 million, or else you're gonna die. It's like one of those funny
chain email curses. Yeah,
exactly. But yeah, then you start thinking about it, and you're like, oh my God, I'm scared now. But Yeah, then the last one on their creepy numbers list I wanted to mention was actually from 2004. It started in 2004. There were rumors going around about certain phone numbers that when you dialed them, they would appear red on your phone screen. And
What?
as this right, as the story goes, these red numbers would put out frequencies that could lead to hearing loss or even deadly injury. So,
Oh my God.
I don't think
That's
there's no
scary.
proof. Yeah, but still, like, these people are gambling if they want to try and call.
Yeah.
It's still scary. So,
Yeah, we won't be calling to check
anyway,
on these for you guys, so
no,
you shouldn't
no.
either, but if you want to, let us know.
Yeah, if you want, I can send you the link to this article.
Yeah, there you
They
go.
have a
DM
lot on
us.
there. So, yep.
My
But
God.
I will not be calling.
No,
Yeah.
certainly not.
So, next topic is now a so called ghost radio station. So, this is out in the middle of nowhere, outside of St. Petersburg, Russia. There is a collection of abandoned radio towers, buildings, and power lines. And people believe that this is the headquarters of a radio station called MDZHB. And this is a radio station that has been continuously broadcasting since 1982, as in, it constantly, 24/7, broadcasts a dull, monotonous tone that's interrupted every few
Oh.
minutes by what sounds like a foghorn or like a loud horn of some kind.
Hmm.
And because of this, people call this station the buzzer. And the only variation to the buzzing happens every 1 to 2 weeks when a voice comes on to read some words in Russian. The examples they gave were like once it said dinghy and once it said farming specialist. So it's
Oh, like
completely
really
random
random.
words. Yeah, very random. And this is like already very weird, but even more mysteriously, no one has ever come forward to claim that they operate the station. So it is truly like a ghost station. They don't know who's talking on it, they don't know who's operating it or who has been broadcasting it for like over 30 years at this point.
What? Okay, do we feel like this could be like a Russian spy kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing? Or like spies abroad
Yes.
in Russia trying to communicate?
Yes. That is
Very weird.
yes. Yeah, this is the very conspiracy oriented story. Because the fact that it started during the Cold War
Oh, of
led people
course.
to
Yeah, you said
believe
82.
that, yeah, the Russian military probably has something to do with it, but they've never admitted to it. And people are curious, though, why they would continue to broadcast on this station for no apparent reason. But if it is the Russian military, they're probably never going to admit to
Come
anything.
forward.
So,
Yeah. But
yeah.
keeping it running, though, like that is a valid, like, why? I feel like there are better ways to communicate than over the radio. It's so public.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Like anybody can tune into this frequency and hear what they're saying. But yeah, so there are a lot of conspiracies around it. Some people think it's for communicating with aliens, of course. Some think it's for communicating with submarines, and others think that it's what's called a dead hand signal. And this means that in the event that Russia is hit with a nuclear attack, that droning, buzzing sound would stop and then automatically trigger retaliation. So the BBC article that I read about it their quote was, "No questions asked, just total nuclear obliteration on both sides." And that would be US and Russia.
Mutually assured destruction.
So, yeah, scary.
Holy shit. I hate that.
Yeah. And they, unfortunately, in this article were like, that may not be totally off base, because the radio, or this station, I guess, is on a shortwave frequency, which means that it's broadcast all over the world, not just like locally. And yeah, so this was a really long article. It was very interesting. This is not paranormal to begin with, so I'm not going to keep going. But if anyone is interested, it has a lot of cool stuff in there. And it was called "The Ghostly Radio Station That No One Claims to Run" by Zaria Gorvet on BBC. So,
wow,
kind of cool.
That's really interesting. The thing with that, though, the like dead, what did you call it? Like a dead man's trigger or something like that?
It's a dead hand.
Dead hand. But it's like,
yeah.
Like, doesn't it seem like there are way too many things that could go wrong with that? That it could accidentally trigger nuclear retaliation? Like, that just seems like a dangerous game to play. Which, I mean... Wouldn't put it past Putin, to be honest, but
no,
you never know.
Yeah,
I don't know. That just seems like so risky.
Yes, I'm gonna hope that that's not what it is.
Yeah, Jesus.
Yikes. Yeah, that does seem like it's just asking for a disaster.
Yeah, and the random words thing seems like, seems like spy communication. But then why?
Yeah.
Like, why use the radio? Unless it's like just regurgitating the same terms that they, like, it's just like, yeah, but I guess you have to have someone operating the station, right? So that's just so weird. That is so spooky. Like, even if that's not paranormal,
I know,
that's very spooky.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it is. And I love a conspiracy. So
me too.
I hope it's aliens. Let's hope for that.
Same. Let's hope for aliens. Because we know they're real.
And the aliens are saying dinghy.
Dinghy.
Specialist. That's what they have to say to us.
They're just like testing out random words.
Learning to speak English, maybe.
Yeah. Or Russian.
Or Russian, yeah, because it is in Russian. So
funny.
Anyway, moving on to another very weird one.
Okay.
That could also be a hoax, but we can't prove that one way or another. So let's just
I'm ready.
Pretend for a moment. So, in 1985, Ken Webster, his girlfriend Debbie, and their friend Nick were living in a very old cottage in Dodleston, England. I feel like they probably have a weird pronunciation for that.
100% was just thinking
Dodlestoon or something. But it looks like Dodleston, so that's what we're going to say. Okay. And they moved in, they got started on some renovations to the cottage, which kicked off some strange activity in the house. For example, footprints would appear in the piles of dust left behind from the renovation. And sometimes there would be dusty footprints going up the wall as if somebody had been walking up the wall.
Okay.
And it continues to get weirder because these footprints had 6 toes on each foot. So
what?
Very bizarre.
Oh, not even like shoe prints, like a naked foot.
No, a foot. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, with 6 toes.
Okay. Limb differences. We see you.
Yeah. Not a problem, but it's like interesting.
And pretty damning if they find someone
Right.
with 6 toes on both feet. Like, well, it was you.
Yeah. Right. So clearly, yeah, you're our guy.
Mm-hmm.
But they also, around this same time, would feel a lot of cold drafts, which I don't think is that weird for a really old
Mm-hmm.
English cottage.
Right.
But
Yeah,
they'd also
valid.
see,
Okay.
yeah, they would see shadows around and there would be nothing there. And then they started noticing that someone or something would like stack and restack the cans of cat food into like a pyramid shape. So it'd be a pyramid and then it would go back and then it'd be a pyramid again. So just really weird stuff.
Very weird.
But one day Ken borrowed what was called a BBC microcomputer from the school where he worked. I tried to look it up with the thought that maybe your dad would be like, have something to say about everything that I'm about to say, but I couldn't process it. So let's just
funny.
pretend. Yeah. Like,
such perfect timing.
You know?
That's really good.
Yeah. So I don't know, because I was like, I looked up a photo of this microcomputer. It mostly looks like an electric or electronic typewriter. So like a big box with a big keyboard, and I couldn't tell where the screen was at all, like, or if there was a screen, or if it came out on paper or whatever. And that's kind of important.
Yeah.
Because this whole story is about how they were getting messages typed to them through this computer. And they don't know who was sending them. And they still don't know.
And when was this?
1985.
Okay, the 80s.
So,
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, Dad, let us know if you know anything about a microcomputer. Which doesn't sound very micro. It sounds macro.
No.
But okay.
Yeah. I think, yeah. And I was probably looking at the wrong picture. Like, I'm such an idiot when it comes to
no, you're not.
these things.
What I was thinking though is like computers at that time were really clunky. Like they were the big box you'd keep under the desk, and then like the monitor is what would be on the desktop. So I can kind of imagine like that was like a laptop almost. Like it was like a compact desktop essentially. At the time. So okay, that's actually tracking. That's tracking. And maybe you have to buy the screen separately, or maybe it is like a typewriter, but it just, you, instead of seeing it on a screen, you see it on paper. I don't know.
Right.
Let us know, Dad.
Yeah. Yep.
Wizard. Let us know, wizard.
Piece of information. Right. Seriously. Because like the one piece of information I gleaned from the article, the Wikipedia about these microcomputers, was that they use them a lot in UK schools. So it makes sense that he would have borrowed it from the school that he worked at the time.
Yes, got you.
And it was like helpful for people learning to type and all of that. So anyway, we'll just continue that they were receiving messages on this computer from who knows who, and we still don't know. And the messages started out with asking them who they are, like, who are you, Ken and Debbie, and accusing them of having stolen the house. Like, you stole my house kind of messages. And they also were receiving really bizarre, like, poems. I have one written down that said, "True are the nightmares of a person that fears. Safe are the bodies of the silent world. Turn, pretty flower, turn towards the sun, for you shall grow and sow. But the flower reaches too high and withers in the burning light." And that was one. And then there was another that said, I write on behalf of many. What strange words you speak. You are a worthy man who has a fanciful woman, and you live in my house with lights which the devil makes.
Oh.
It was a great crime to have stolen my house.
Oh, this is giving me chills. These are creepy.
So, it is creepy. And yeah, that last message was actually signed or initialed. It was LW. And so because they finally like gave some indication of an identity, Ken starts to dedicate himself to trying to figure out where these messages are coming from.
Yeah.
And starts writing back with questions about the sender's identity. And some of the messages they receive are written in Old English. So those others, like, kind of are, but I think some of them were definitely in Old English for sure. So they think, okay, this must be a ghost from like when the house was first built or something forever ago. Or just from the land that it was built on, whatever.
Especially because
So
they
start
said
asking,
what strange words you speak, like as if
right.
do you almost speak a different language? Because I mean, it would sound really different.
Pretty much, yeah. It's totally different dialects, essentially. Yeah, so they start asking if the ghost or whoever this is went to university, who the king was at the time that they were living. But the only thing that they got was a name, which is Thomas Harden, which oddly does not match the initials that were used to sign that other message. So it's like this thing or whoever is sending these messages is also playing a game of like, can you figure this out? Who knows? But the messages keep coming through, and it starts to seem like the writer of these messages can see things that are happening in the house, which is horrifying. For example, Ken is a car enthusiast and he particularly loves Jaguar cars. And so he left a photo of one on their kitchen table one day, and then they received a message on the computer saying, I have found your picture of the cart, but it is a crude thing, for without the horse, it won't go far.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's so strange.
It's reminding me a little bit of The Watcher.
Yeah, that's
similar.
A good parallel. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very weird. Yeah. So eventually Ken shares with the sender that the year is 1985. And this mysterious messenger replies, I thought you were also from 2109, like your friend who brought the box of lights, pray. And so this is so bizarre, and obviously, like, the whole thing has been weird, but I get a little more hoaxy vibes toward the end of this story. Just because it's like, okay, maybe we're dealing with time travel now. Like, are you from the 16th century or are you from the future?
The future, yeah.
Who knows? But the sender, who they then start calling 2109, writes, try to understand that you three, as in Ken, Debbie, and Nick, have a purpose that shall in your lifetime change the face of history. We, 2109, must not affect your thoughts directly, but give you some sort of guidance that will allow room for your own destiny. All we can say is that we are all part of the same God, whatever he, is. So, it's like, is it a message from the future about, I just have no idea. And nobody else has any idea either.
Yeah, why did they revert to Old English? Like, in the future?
Right.
But then,
Yeah. And
what
are
would
there
be...
multiple people
Yeah, and like, what would be the
even?
alternative, like, explanation? Like a squatter? Or they've just made the whole thing up? But that seems like why?
Yeah. That, I think, the reason potentially would be that Ken wrote a book about all of
Mm,
this. So maybe it was
mm,
like for book sales,
mm-hmm.
but still, it's not like it worked that well. Like I
Mm-mm.
had never heard of this
Never heard of
until
it. Yeah.
looking up this looking up this very specific topic.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Huh.
so
So
the
bizarre. What the
sender
hell?
right. I can't remember. Oh yeah, I guess it was he said that he was gonna put his book somewhere hidden where people could find
Mm.
it in the future. Like all of these just weird things. So they had paranormal research teams come into their house on 3 separate occasions, but they never found any answers. Um, so it's just all completely unknown. And the other thing I was trying to research was, were there hackers at this time? Because, like,
Yeah.
this computer wouldn't have been connected to a network because that
Yeah.
wasn't a thing yet.
Yeah, a thing.
So is that even possible?
Oh, that's
I don't know.
so weird. I
Yeah,
don't know what to make of that. I
very
feel like
strange.
it's so similar to The Watcher in that way of like you're never gonna find out what happened or who
Right.
that was, why they were
Yeah.
doing it. Like, unless it is truly something. I mean, in the case of The Watcher, maybe a little, I mean, maybe paranormal, but more culty than occulty.
Right.
Whereas this just seems like, yeah, like either like people be like playing a really involved prank or, yeah, like, I don't know, because I'm thinking back to the beginning of like six-toed footprints up the walls. It's like what a parent would do on St. Patrick's Day, like little leprechaun
Right.
footprints in weird
Leprechaun feet.
places. Like,
Yeah.
what? I
That's
don't
true.
know. That's really
Yeah.
freaking weird. And that would scare the shit out of me. The
Mhm.
photo of the car.
Yeah. Yeah. That's when they can start seeming to see you, that is unacceptable to
No,
me.
absolutely not. Yeah, and
That's,
like the Watcher knew the
yeah.
name of the kids' names.
Right.
That was
I remember
super
watching
scary.
that. That was,
Yeah,
yeah. Oof. Scary. But
very.
anyway, that's it. Oh, and they call that whole phenomenon, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
is called the Dodelston messages,
Oh,
in case anyone wants to continue to look into it. I'm sure that
yeah.
there's more out there.
I wonder if people in the UK are like familiar with that. Like if that's like,
Yeah.
I don't know, something people know about there. Like I don't know how
Right.
publicized this was, and also like we weren't even alive,
Yeah.
so we wouldn't know. But that's so creepy. I hate that.
Yeah, I know. Same. Yeah. But I was also thinking about for this episode, and I think we covered it once before, that haunted laptop that was on eBay that sold for like it was either that it sold for $10 or it sold for like 10,000 or something ridiculous.
Yeah, something crazy.
And it was also writing messages to the owner about like Mozart or something. So I guess there are haunted computers out there.
For sure. The problem with haunted computers now is it's guaranteed a person. Like there's just no way you could fully like completely rule that out because people can do anything with technology nowadays. Whereas like in the 80s, that was so new.
Right.
And yeah, like it's not like they were like hooked up to the internet in this like old cottage.
Right.
So yeah, that's really weird though, dude. Like
yeah.
Really, really weird.
Yeah.
Don't
Bizarre.
like it. Very.
No, but I enjoyed this episode. It was
Me too.
Lots of cool
This
stuff.
is a good one. Lots of cool spooky
Mhm.
stuff. Well, if you guys have ever had a haunted electronic or device, or I would love to talk to someone who has that streetlight interference thing.
Yeah,
I just think that's
same.
so cool. Like, I would
Uh-huh.
fully convince myself that I was a superhero if I had that power.
Yep. Yep.
And for those of you who have it, I'm not convinced you're not superheroes, so or super
Right.
villains. You feel me?
Ooh.
Um,
Yeah.
but anywho, DM us, email us at girlsgonespooky@gmail.com. On social, we're at Girls Gone Spooky on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Please rate and review the podcast. Tell your friends about it if you like it. Word of mouth helps. And is that it? I think that's all
I
I
think
usually
that's
say.
it.
I
I
think
think
that's
you
it.
covered it.
Okay.
Uh-huh. I
All
think that's
right. Well,
it.
we will be back next week. And until then, stay spooky.
Stay spooky. Bye.
Bye.